Hi, and welcome to Run Tall with Tim. The YouTube channel is dedicated to all of you, the global running community. I'm Tim, and I upload new running videos every single week. Today, I'm taking a look back at the Hoka Rocket X. Now, this is a shoe that I picked up in late October, and I've got over 50 miles on it, so I thought it's a good opportunity for us to take a look just to see how the shoe's been doing. At the time, I had a couple of areas that I was concerned about, so I want to talk about those with you. Oh, and before I get too far, if you want to try to save yourself a little time, I tried to make it as easy for you as possible just to skip around in the video to the parts that you might be most interested in. So if you open the description, there you're going to see chapters that I've created. Just click on the timestamp for the part of the video that you want to watch, and it's going to take you right there. First, I put together a run demo for you, so let's watch that, and then when we get back, we're going to talk about those areas of concern that I had, as well as the performance and a whole lot more. So I've really been enjoying running in the Rocket X. I've had it just about every place you can possibly imagine in terms of terrain. So in the run video there, you could see that, I was on some, packed hard dirt, some gravel, as well as some pavement. But I've also had it down at my local high school track to do some speed work with them as well. And, they've performed really well under all of those conditions. And so let's just talk about the shoe. So, it costs $180. And that's not too bad for, a carbon-plated racing shoe, especially when, you look at some of Nike's products that they have out, and they're awesome, but they're also quite a bit more expensive. The next percents are running $250. You want to get the Alpha Fly, that's $275. So for $180 for all that this shoe can do, I think it's a good buy. I've certainly felt like I've been getting my money's worth out of them, and it's a shoe that I just seem to want to pick up all the time to go and run, and regardless of what I plan to be doing that day. So, I've really been enjoying it from that respect. So let's talk more about, the shoe itself. It comes in at 7.4 ounces, so it's not the lightest shoe that's out there, but, it's on par. The Endorphin Pro, that runs 7.4 ounces. So, it's kind of middle of the road in terms of weight is concerned for a carbon-plated racing shoe. But as I just mentioned, you can do a lot with this. You can take it out for daily runs if you want to. Certainly is an excellent choice for a tempo or progression run, and a great choice for half marathon, marathon distances, or even a 5K for that matter. So it's a really versatile shoe. So I do think that it's worth that $180 that you might be spending, and that's US dollars. And that's 7.4 ounces. That's for a men's size 9, which is what I wear. So let's take a look at the upper. Now, I've got 58 miles, I believe, on this shoe now. So, it's just a little over 50. The upper, it's doing really well. It is a mesh upper, highly breathable. And, as I zoom in, you can see that it's got like this honeycomb shape in the upper itself, but that really allows a lot of airflow. I can remember the very first time that I ran in this shoe. It was pretty cool out, and the run sequence that you saw there, that was sequential, so that is in time order. So you can see it was a lot colder the first day that I ran in it, but as Michigan weather is, it can be 31 day and literally 70 degrees the next day, and that's exactly what happened in those two pieces of run footage that you saw there. So, but that first time I ran in a shoe, it was in the 30s or so, and I had that cool sensation. I could feel the breeze right through that mesh upper onto my toes, and I knew right away that this was going to be a highly breathable upper, and I really do appreciate that. It's also pretty translucent. You can see right through it, so that in itself tells you just how much airflow. If you can see through the upper as clearly as you can see through this one, all that daylight coming through there, that it's going to be pretty breathable. And after the 58 miles, I don't see any signs of wear on the upper itself or in the eyelet chain. It's a really basic eyelet chain, nothing going on here that's crazy or special or any kind of wow factor, but it doesn't need it. It does an adequate job. The only thing, and this is part of my concern, so I mentioned that I had two areas of concern when I first started running these shoes, and one of them was how that eyelet chain is cinched together. I right from the very start, in order to get a lockdown feeling, I felt like that material was being really scrunched in there. So this is basically right off my foot. You can see how close together, that material is. So my concern was, if this material continues to stretch, am I still going to be able to achieve that lockdown feeling, or is it going to be kind of like the Hoka Clifton 7? Another shoe that I'm comfortable running in, but that has some issues with the upper, at least for me, not staying with that lockdown feeling. And with that shoe, it felt like, I kept having to tighten it down more and more and more and more the longer that I ran in it. And I'll be doing a 50-mile shoe review on that one as well coming up pretty soon. But so that's what was my concern. Is this material going to stretch to the point where I'm not going to be able to achieve a lockdown feeling? And I haven't had that issue. So thank goodness, it's really done well that way. It's just a matter of kind of getting used to it being so close together. And I mentioned this before, and if you want to check out the first review of this shoe, I'll put a link in the description below. But I did mention having this issue in that right from the start, but it's not been a concern. It really, the material hasn't stretched any further, so it hasn't gotten any worse. But what I did mention in that first review is that, I might have been able to correct that had I gone down just about a half a size. This is true to size for me. I wear a men's size 9 in pretty much all of the running shoes that I own. But this one I felt like, I could maybe possibly get away with going with an 8.5 instead of 9, and that might have solved that little bit of an issue there. But I don't have the opportunity to do that right now, but maybe should I buy a replacement pair for these, or maybe an updated version, as I'm sure they'll come out with a Rocket 2 or something at some point. Maybe I'll try going down a half a size in that version of it, should it come out. So as long as we're talking about the eyelet chain, I did mention in that very first review of this shoe how long the laces are. But, if you use a runner's knot, the length of the laces is just fine. I don't, so the laces do seem pretty long. So much so that, I either have to triple knot the laces just to keep them from, what I think is going to be dragging on the ground or feels like they're dragging on the ground, or I need to use a runner's knot just to use up some of that lace. Otherwise, they're just really flopping around everywhere. So let's look at the padding around the heel collar and tab, see how that's been holding up, and talk a little bit about the comfort. It's holding up great. They actually have, a fairly substantial amount of padding for a racing shoe in those areas, and it's felt really comfortable. This shoe is just a real pleasure to run in, and I've enjoyed running in it right from day one, and it just seems to be getting, better over time. The more I run it, the more I want to keep running in the shoe, and the padding around there just adds to that comfort level, so I'm really enjoying that. Let's look at the counter, and sometimes shoes can lose a little bit of structure, and these have not. They've got lots of material back around in that heel counter to keep give you a nice stable ride. And for someone who overpronates like I do, it's so nice to have a carbon plated racing shoe that I can actually run in without having to worry about all of that ankle issues I can get from overpronating in shoes that aren't as stable. So that's been a real treat, and I've been enjoying that as well. Let's look now at the midsole. And this was the other issue that I was concerned about. Is this going to be kind of like the Rencon, where it's got that soft midsole material, but it gets chewed up awfully quickly. Now, I personally was able to get a lot of miles, or I ran a lot of miles in my pair of the Rencon, but most runners did not have that experience. In fact, they complained about just how quickly that midsole material seemed to get chewed up because it was just so soft. And you know what? You look at this midsole material, and it's not a huge stack height, so it's not that 40 millimeters that you see in some of these racing shoes today. It's got 32 millimeter stack height in the heel and a 27 millimeter in the forefoot, so it just has a 5 millimeter offset, which is pretty comfortable for me. And one of the things that I do want to know, so if you run in the Hoka Carbon X, which I do, I have the Carbon X SPE version of it. The one of the things that I noticed right off the bat is the Hoka Rocket X seems to be much more cushioned underfoot and have a much more natural feeling. Well, there's a reason for that. Not just the midsole material. Hoka talks about it being, their most advanced midsole material, and it's a compressed EVA foam. So I do think that they did change that midsole material to make it softer. But one of the biggest differences, and so this is the SPE version, and you can see where that carbon plate runs between that material. Okay, and you can see how it runs almost in the center of that midsole material. And with the Hoka Rocket X, what they did is they moved that plate down much closer to the ground. So in essence, you have a lot more EVA, that compressed EVA foam between your foot and that plate. And that makes a world of difference. It just feels so much softer and so much more natural. Now, I like running in the Carbon X SPE shoe. It's a booty construction. I enjoy running in that shoe. I think it's a pretty quick shoe for what it is, and it's really super durable. Well, the Rocket X has that and just a whole lot more. It's lighter, it's more nimble, and since they moved that plate down so you've got more foam between you and the plate and it's closer to the ground, it just feels softer and, like I said, much more natural underfoot. So let's flip them over and we'll take a look at that exposed compressed EVA foam on the outsole to see if my concerns were warranted or not. And you can see that they do have some rubber in the high impact areas around in the, a couple strips in the heel and then up in that forefoot. But as we take a close look at that exposed compressed EVA foam, it doesn't show that much wear, considering that, I do have 58 miles on these shoes. There is some, you can see some wear marks, in that foam. But certainly nothing that's concerning to me at all. So I do think that, we're going to be able to get, probably 400 miles on these shoes, which is pretty fantastic, for a carbon plated racing shoe. And, I'm almost hesitant to even call it a carbon plated racing shoe because this shoe can do it all. If you want to call it your up tempo shoe, your progression run shoe, or your daily trainer, I think it could fit all of those categories. And it is quick. This shoe is fast. Is it as fast as the Nike Next Percent? Well, probably not. But it also costs, $100 less than the Alpha Fly. So, you got to kind of do that cost-benefit analysis that we all do when we're going to shell out our hard-earned cash for a new pair of running shoes. And in this case, I think that this shoe is worth every penny of that $180 that I paid for them. Hey, I really enjoyed making this video for you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, maybe give it a thumbs up. As always, run tall, run strong, be kind to one another. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.